and healing, embracing the feeling for real. This time, if you know, then you know, the Fountain of Hope podcast.
Hi, today on Fountain of Hope podcast, we have Miss Denise Nicole Battles. Welcome.
Hello, Tracy.
Hello. We are so excited to have her here. Let me just tell you a little bit about Denise. She's an accomplished opera singer from Portsmouth, Virginia, is a proud product of the Hampton Roads Tidewater area, sharing her hometown with the Ionic Missy Elliott. Her journey into the world of opera was gained at Churchland High School here in Portsmouth, where she participated in magnet program. She purchased her passion for music further in Norfolk University, correct?
Norfolk State, yes.
Norfolk State. Behold, you said, where she took voice lessons and immersed herself into the musical studies. She is the proud owner of Opera for Us. She has performed with different variety of people, background, legendary music, Stevie Wonder. Vocalist with Layla Hathaway? Yes. Public opera performance, bringing opera to everyday settings. She has performed in train stations from NYC, commuters, making classical music accessible to broader audiences. Gospel and jazz. Denise directed a gospel choir during her graduate studies at West Virginia University, has performed in jazz restaurants, demonstrating her versatility across musical genres.
Yes.
But let's get into Opera for Us. Tell us about that.
Opera for Us, and thank you again, Tracy, for that beautiful introduction.
Yes.
So Opera for Us is my baby. It is a avenue and just an accessible tool for the BIPOC community. So for those of you who may have heard BIPOC and wondered, okay, what does that stand for? It's Black Indigenous People of Color. And growing up here in Portsmouth and traveling New York City, even studying in Graz, Austria, I saw a big disparity of African American singers and furthermore, our community not being exposed. So sometimes when I perform, and people will come up to me and say, wow, you're the first Black person I've seen sing opera. And, granted, you go to your larger metropolitan cities like DC, New York, Atlanta, it's more of us. But here in the 757, I said, I want to do something to fix that. So hence Opera for Us was birthed. It was originally a YouTube series where I took stories from Black films like Spike Lee and Oz, or The Wiz, I'm sorry. And I referenced it and compared it to stories of, say, Puccini of Madame Butterfly, and showed the similarities to just expose people that opera is a sung drama, and it's something that isn't so far out from what we think of when it comes to understanding stories and just music performance in general. So Opera for Us, that's my goal, to educate and expose to the BIPOC community, and also take people's experiences, their everyday lives, and turn it into opera as well.
Now, I talked about, just in your opening, your background a little bit. You started at Churchland, but when you were at Churchland High School, opera didn't start there, but music did.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then you went further on. And so can you just tell us how you got from singing in your school choir to opera? Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, so, growing up, I always sang gospel, pop, R&B, jazz. But when I went to Churchland, they had the Visual Performing Arts Magnet program, as you referenced. And at the time, I was singing in the the chorus. But my voice teacher I had at the magnet program, Joyce Harding, she was the one that just exposed me mainly to Kathleen Battle and Jessie Norman, who are Black opera singers. And so the introduction was, okay, that's opera. Those are opera singers, but it didn't truly resonate yet. Okay. So when I went to Norfolk State University, I was a part of the university concert choir, and we were still singing classical music, but I wasn't technically singing opera yet. Okay. And it wasn't until my junior year, and I was, how old was I? I think I was 21. Way back when.
Way back when, right.
And I was like, there was this program, the American Institute of Musical Studies, where you had the opportunity to study opera, German art song in Graz, Austria, where Arnold Schwarzenegger is from. So I took advantage of that opportunity, and that summer was when I realized, I think I want to do this. I think I want to sing opera, because it was presented in a different way. I became immersed with it versus when I was over here. I became introduced and exposed, but I didn't have that moment where I said, oh, this is something I want to do. I just had to take a different experience, a certain moment and place for me to actually realize I want to sing opera, because I was singing. Opera is technically a sung drama. Art song is a folk song of the native culture. So when I was in Germany, they have Lieder, which means art song in German. And I was studying that particular sector of classical music, but I heard and observed people singing opera arias and how they executed it, the performance, executed nuances, and I said, I can do the same thing, and it just touched me in a way. So, yeah.
So as I'm sitting here and I'm listening to the first person, Black, African American, was Larry Brownlee.
It's amazing.
And I went to high school with him, and so and hearing him sing, and growing up in the area where we grew up, that wasn't opera. Listening to opera, right?
Right.
And so as got to experience you and listening to you, and you did some singing for me with a mind, body, and soul mental health program that I had put on a couple of years ago. And listening, it touched me to the point where I was crying. And so the emotional piece that it brings, and your regular genre songs from country to jazz to R&B, they all move, but this is a different way that it moves you. So can you explain the difference between the different genres and opera, because it's different from those other genres?
It is. And while music touches us all in the, it gives us goosebumps, and it moves us.
Yes.
I think opera, it kind of makes things larger. It makes things, so on a scale, let's say you hear a jazz song, a Miles Davis playing something from one of his compositions that I can't think of off the top of my head, and you're like, wow, that sounds so good. Yeah, and it kind of gives you like this sultry, sensual feel.
Yeah.
Opera, I would say, it's like that times 100. It's like, because of the type of execution that we do.
Okay.
Opera is on a larger scale, so it electrifies. I feel like it awakens all senses, if that makes sense.
Yes.
It kind of awakens.
Oh, that resonates with me.
Yeah.
As I'm sitting here listening to you, it opens all senses. And so when I'm thinking about frequency and vibration and not just one, most times people are thinking, like I can listen to back in the day, okay, I'm telling my age, but growing up in the 80s and all of that, listening to some of the songs that we would listen to, that R&B, sexuals, the emotions, not knowing and understanding what are they saying, but you could go back and listen. Opera, I'm like, what are they saying?
Right.
And it's like,
I
don't even have to hear the words, but I feel it. And not even understanding. So that's when you're like, ooh. So when you were talking about it, opens up all frequencies, not even understanding what the words are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, it's moving you. Yes. So what was the song that you heard that moved you?
It was, it's Quel Bello Sogno, or La Canzone di Doretta, which is the song of Doretta from the Italian opera La Rondine, which means the swallow.
Swallow.
And yes, and the background behind that's composed by Italian composer named Puccini. And the background of that song is she's this courtesan, and courtesan was the glamorized or elegant version of a woman of the night who had, she was well taken care of now. And she is, older.
Yeah.
And she's having a private party with people in her room. And not in her, but in her living room, dining room, as they did back in the day. They had salon parties and where they had people come and entertain. And there was a friend of hers who was playing the piano. And it was talking about, there was once this lady who was in love. She saw this man, and she became entrapped with who he was, and she wanted to go up to him and talk to him. And he didn't finish it, so Doretta said, I'll finish it. And so, Chi libera sogno, and what it is, she was talking about how when she was younger, she met this young man, and they became a relationship. They became one, but it didn't last very long. And it was because he didn't have that much money. And, she was trying to get someone to take care of her in a sense. But she loved him, and he gave her a kiss. And she kind of regretted it, so that she's singing that one day, I'll find something like that again. I still want that. I'm older now. I'm more settled at this time, but I do desire that feeling, that emotion. And Leontine Price, who is a legendary black soprano, she sang that song in one of her live concerts. And when I heard the recording, man, it is such a short song, but so powerful. And she stays on these A flats, the way she just floats on them. And Italian, in at its essence, is very romantic. It's a romantic language.
Yeah. So did you learn Italian?
Just enough to sing the songs. I didn't learn the language like I wanted to. Not yet.
Not yet.
I plan to.
Not yet.
Yeah.
And so people might wonder, why did I have you on Fountain of Hope podcast? Is different therapies and stuff like that we're talking about, but we're always talking about healing.
Yes.
And is there a way that opera is therapeutic, that it can help heal people emotionally, mentally, or help them in that form physically? So if so, tell us about that.
My idea is I believe it can, and it will. And you don't even have to say any words. You can just sing on and E on a certain high note. And just by allowing the note to float. So say if we're in a meditative state, and I take my inhale and I exhale on the vowel for a long period of time, because it's inside of my body, it's coming from a place of release.
Gotcha. So could you give us an example of that?
Sure.
Yeah.
It was funny, I was thinking about doing it, but I said I hadn't warmed up yet, so y'all excuse me. But let's say, for example, I won't do a high one yet, but and I did an example of crescendo and decrescendo.
I felt that.
You felt that? What did you feel?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, I felt goosebumps, but it resonated within my sacrum. So if I'm looking at chakras in my sacrum, and so I could see that, and we have talked about collaborating together and doing some meditation and together with some clients and things like that. And so the healing part of it, the sounds, and when people think about the sound bowls and the frequency of the sound bowls, that's what just happened, the frequency of that. And so you and I both got to sit in and into a sound bath and things like that. But just those notes resonated just like that.
Did you hear a vibration?
Yes, I did.
In the, like, in it.
I did. I did. Yes. And so that's why you're here, and people don't understand, and bringing this creative and networking, but this creative way of seeing healing, not just from let's do talk therapy, but there's plenty of ways. And so when we look at it from a physical way, how does opera, singing, listening to help for those who want to get into opera, those who want to join opera for us? How does it help physically?
Physically, oh man, opera, and I say for myself, a person who wants some type of release, opera is great for when you're feeling weighted and you just sing scales. You just go up and down, la la la, and you do that over and over and over again on switching from or modulating and going up and down the piano and major and minor keys. You start to feel your voice, your body loosen, if you will. Your throat isn't as tense, hopefully, because like I said, I keep saying release, but because we sing and our voice is inside of our bodies, whatever happens to us impacts that. So sometimes when you sing and you warm up or you're just making sounds, just by doing the routines back to back to back or over and over and over again, it's kind of like breathing or kind of like doing an exercise. Your body starts to, feel more loose. All right, we're getting more in a space where we feel more peaceful or we feel more relaxed. So a person who is interested, or a singer who is interested in opera for us, who studies classical music and wants to get the exposure, but also wants to be a part of this healing process, I say contact me. I have my information at the end of this session, but definitely it's more than just opera, as you said. It's healing.
It's healing. So from a mental health standpoint, how do you think opera helps mentally? How does it impact someone mentally?
It boosts confidence, I would say.
Well, for me, who doesn't sing opera,
yes,
but listening to it,
yes,
can it do the same thing?
I would say yes, because again, with opera for us, we take your story, your experience, and we put it into the art form.
Yeah.
How many people can say they had their experience or something that happened to them, whether good or bad?
Okay.
Put in a way where a singer is singing it, but then you're putting it to you're putting it to an art form that is on the highest caliber. So I am not only helping you, but giving you that support that your story and what you went through is needed. It's important.
Yeah. So not too long ago, and what you're talking about, there was a student.
Yes.
And I came to one of your performances.
Yes.
And there was a student, and you all took her story, her life story, and you had different singers who were able to tell her story from a different perspective, singing opera.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful. And so, like, you could take my story and you can create something from that by singing it through the opera.
Yes.
That's what opera for us is about.
Yes.
And
yes.
What type of students do you look for? Young students, older students, or does it matter?
It doesn't matter. We don't have a preference. For that particular program, we work with college students, but now that we're expanding, the vision is getting bigger. There are so many people from different ages who say maybe switch career paths, maybe went through something challenging emotionally or life-death altering situation. And just the experience right there, it's something that we want people more than anything to feel that support, to feel that collaboration.
So from a mental standpoint, even if I don't sing and you took my story, I could feel supported in that. How does it help mentally with stress?
For someone who doesn't sing?
Yes.
Oh, for someone who doesn't sing and it can help mentally, you could be having a moment where you're up against the wall.
Okay.
And sometimes just by hearing the frequency.
Like what we just did.
What we were talking about. Exactly. Just hearing the frequency, or hearing that, and if a note is really, really high, and again, I would do it, but I haven't warmed up. When a note is really high note, and I would say you can feel it in, what was this chakra right here?
You're not talking about your crown, your third eye.
Third eye. You can feel that, and it's like a
Penal.
ping, and penal, and it gives you that. Oh wow, that like a boost of, I can make this go. I can make this action happen today, or I can go on another day. I'm not the worst person in my family. I'm not the black sheep that never made it.
Gotcha.
So that's what that sector of sound. Now with Opera for Us, mentally, my goal is when people share our stories, I want people to understand it doesn't matter how big or how small you think your story is or your experience, it's being told. And that for that person will give them a sense of, I'm valuable here in this world. Like, my life makes a difference. I don't have to be a superstar. I don't have to be someone on TV or a heavy figure in the community. The fact that someone wants to tell my story makes me feel good.
So mentally, you've talked about how it is impacted and can impact. Physically, you've talked about how it can impact us. So if you were looking at students and gaining students and bringing students in, the impact, whether it's a college student or an adult or any of those, where do you want to take them? Like, what's the ultimate goal for that student?
For that student who's interested in singing with Opera for Us?
Yes.
That goal is to put them in front of the community first, for them to get the exposure in the community, to see more black and brown singers. And then from there, they're able to put that on their resume when they audition and when they apply for maybe college. So if we have a high school student who's interested in singing but maybe hasn't performed in front of a group, we can do an education and outreach tour where we go to high schools and we say, why don't you sing something that we prepared for the students that goes in line with their theme? And they in turn get the experience, so when they go to college or they study in a program, they have that experience. And then ultimately, if the student continues, they decide they want to continue to sing and perform, not just on stage, but maybe with their own company or their own education, tour. They have that background, and they have that that collaborative spirit, where they work with the community. It's not so much I'm on stage and you're down here. And from there, they can take it anywhere. Our goal is just to plant the seed for them. 1, people to get exposed to them. 2, they get the experience. And 3, they can carry on the mission from there.
Good. And one of the things I find with Opera for Us, and I've watched you, that whole is not for us, but you're always trying to get someone else to sing and pull them up and make sure they're exposed. And sometimes you'll fall back to the background and say, well, I want them to be exposed. I want them to have the opportunity, which is just a blessing to know that someone cares about other people that much to make sure they're exposed. And you do that. And so with Opera for Us, anybody coming in will know that she's going to push you, and she will sometimes fall to the back in order to make sure you have the path and on the journey that you need to be on. And so that is just phenomenal.
Thank you.
In all of this, what is your biggest reward that you have found for you in this?
My biggest reward is doing what I felt and told myself needs to be done. And that is exposing opera to black and brown people everywhere. That's my goal. Just taking opera to a different space with the community that hasn't been done. That was the challenge, because I said, well, what if people don't resonate with this? What if it doesn't, it just doesn't make sense. All the things we tell each other, the little voices we can allow in our head.
To distract us, to get us off our course.
Yeah. And I said, no, it has to get done. If you don't do it, you failed.
Yeah.
This is your life's, this is one of your purposes. This is one of your passions. Like, we all have different purposes.
Yeah.
But,
So what future trends or developments do you foresee in the field of opera singing that could enhance its benefits for mental, emotional, and physical health?
I definitely see more sessions, meditative, Reiki sessions, yoga sessions, any type of atmosphere where there is mind, body, and soul, and sound coming in.
Yeah.
So we hear the sound baths, which I love, and we sometimes I've seen have people come in and sing, but an opera singer coming in just singing on a vowel and just being in that space, that will not only again expose, but it will also infiltrate in the wellness, health and wellness space. But also the mental health field, as you have, just introduced to the audience.
Yes.
So that's where I see it in all type, not just piano, but it can just be a cappella. It could be various instruments.
Well, I'm excited. You all look out for it, because Denise and I will be doing some collaboration soon. And I'm excited about it, and so you can see how we can all bring it all together. So it'll be in person, so look out for that. And on that note, could you take us out with something that is inspiring, that is motivating us, a little something for the audience so they'll understand what I have?
Love lifted me when nothing else could help. Love lifted me.
Thank you. That was
Thank
a
you, Tracy.
perfect note to end today's session. I look forward to our collaboration. You have just taken us to a whole nother level with what Fountain of Hope podcast is wanting.
Wow.
Healing in a whole nother way.
Yes.
A whole nother therapeutic way.
Yeah.
Introducing our audience to something that they haven't even been exposed to. And if so, just even more information and educating. And that's what we're here for. So thank you.
Thank you for affording me the opportunity
Yes.
and exposing me to even higher ways of thinking when it comes to opera.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Tracy.
Finding your light from inside. You'll shine. If you know, then you know. The Fountain of Hope podcast.